Okay, Tuesday Talks live in action. Let's go ahead and see if we've got our Instagram streaming. Go live on that. Bumping the buttons here. Go live, go live, go live. It says it's live. Let me know if you guys can see me, if you can hear me. If you're watching this right now, I'm actually out on site right now, out on the road. In today, I'm in Emmett, Idaho. Starbucks here in Emmett, brand new Starbucks. And let's see if I can adjust the angle a little bit. Apologize for some of the background noise, and might even get rained out today because it looks like the clouds are rolling in. But had a great meeting this morning. Boy, I can't emphasize the importance of networking enough. It's really, really true. Your network is your net worth. And so if you guys are out trying to get started in this business, one of the best things you can do right off the bat is get into networking, start seeing properties, start seeing people that are in this business. Definitely something that you want to keep in mind. So I'm going to stay, while I'm watching here, look and see if anybody's actually commenting. Just getting everybody jump on here. I'm going to share this link, and you could help me if you're watching this right now, whether you are watching live or if you're watching later on the recording. Feel free to share the link and let folks know that we're live right now, or that you jumped on and that you learned something. If you're a regular, say hello. You guys know the drill. Let us know that you can hear me. Let me know that you can see me. Peggy says just got on. Peggy, nice to see you. Glad to have you here today. I'm jumping over to, yeah, Peggy's live. Peggy's always live. She's like, um, I went to Yellowstone last summer for the first time, and we got to go up and see Old Faithful. And I'm not saying that Peggy is old, because she's not, but she is faithful. She's consistent. You can count on her. So thank you for being here, Peggy. If you're also just jumping on, feel free to say hello. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I know I'm outside. I'm on the patio. A lot of background noise. It's not ideal, but boy, it feels like it's really noisy to me. What about you guys? The problem is it's music noise inside there versus traffic noise out here. But I want to tell you guys a little bit about what I'm doing today on site, and see what you guys are doing. Please, please, please post your questions. If you've got questions that are just burning a hole in your mind and you gotta get it answered, then please answer the question, or ask the question rather. And then also, if you guys are um, just checking in, I'd love to hear where you're watching from. I think Peggy, of course, is in Portland. Peggy, did you work last night? I know you've always got these crazy hours, night shift jobs that she's got. But let's see here. Share there. I'm going to share there. I'm going to share um, there. Just posting this in a couple of places. You guys feel free to help me out. Share these in different places. It helps me. Yeah. So I'm out in Emmett, Idaho today, and Emmett, Idaho is an interesting place, and I'll tell you why I say that here in just a minute. But Emmett, Idaho is kind of an interesting spot here in the southern Idaho area. And oh, yes, Peggy says yes, and she's working tonight. Peggy, you are a workhorse. Man, she's always working. So, Peggy, I don't know how you do it, honestly. I told people that before. I don't know how Peggy Stevens actually does all the work that she does, shows up to everything that she does, has the great attitude that she has. But glad you're here today, Peggy. So, yeah, I'm out in Emmett, Idaho. Bit noisy today. Out in Emmett, Idaho. I'm out here because I'm looking at some properties that are kind of a unique type of property. And Emmett, I like Emmett because Emmett oh, we lose the video. Okay, good. Video's still good. We still got video. Yeah, Emmett, Idaho is a town that is close enough to Boise and all the big amenities of kind of the big city. Some of you would probably laugh. Is a big city, but Emmett is close enough to the big city, Meridian, Boise. Actually, you can get to Nampa pretty easily from here. But it's also still small enough. It has kind of that rural feel. You know what I mean? It's where people tend to know each other, and There's kind of a general sense of community. People just kind of, helping each other out. People know each other, and I understand there's still problems, right? No place is perfect, but Emmett, Idaho is one of those places it's close enough to the big city, but it's still far enough away. It's kind of out through this little canyon. I can see the highway going up where you come through the canyon, drop down into this valley. And the reason I'm out here today is because I've actually got a couple of properties that I'm looking at, and we have something that we're looking to build here in the southern Idaho area, and also looking to build in Oregon, Washington, kind of the I-5 corridor, anywhere from Medford all the way up to Canada. We're trying to stay out of California right now as much as possible, but we have what I call kind of a boutique type of product. So something that is small, cute, cozy, it's classy, and yet it's something that is built. We're going to build it on purpose to generate high revenue, so a lot of income on this one property. And so I met with one of the gals from the network here in the Treasure Valley area, and that's Tess. Tess is normally on these calls. I'm not sure if she's on today, but Tess and I have been working on locating these types of properties, and then really just having conversations with the owners about what they would be interested in selling for. We have a reason why we want to be in Emmett is because of the fact that it is a small town, but it's growing. Case in point would be right here where I'm at. I'll kind of get a little bit of, there's a brand new Starbucks here behind me. There's a brand new grocery outlet there behind me. And Emmett is growing, and one of the reasons it's growing is because the highway department here in Idaho, they've decided to take the kind of the one lane each direction, 2-lane highway, and they're expanding that, and they're pushing it through all the way to Interstate 84. And that work is already underway. It's not completed yet, but because of the fact that that work and that infrastructure is being put in, it's what's going to end up happening is going to really end up connecting Emmett to a larger, traffic system in a much bigger way. So you guys know the difference between, a little 2-lane highway where you have stop and go, and having it kind of a bigger highway where it just pushes through. You jump on the highway, you zoom, you get to where you're trying to get to. And what I believe, and this is what I think a lot of people have speculated, so it's not like it's original thought to me, but what I believe is that when that highway system is finished, there's going to be a ton of people that are going to move out to this direction, this area, because it's going to be, probably for the first time, it's going to be realized as a place that you can actually get in and out of a lot quicker than it currently is. So one of the things I wanted to talk about on today's Tuesday Talks is the importance of infrastructure, the importance of amenities, the importance of, the importance of when you see an area that is beginning to get popular. Those are usually some really key indicators that you can actually start looking for property in those areas, because you know, okay, if the state is pushing a highway out there, if they're connecting it, if they're expanding it, if we're watching some of the bigger investors come in and build a brand new Starbucks, build a brand new grocery outlet over there, there's new stores and things like that popping up everywhere. When you start seeing that kind of thing happen, then what you know that you're actually, that area is set to explode in growth, typically. Now, explode might be a little bit of an over-exaggeration. That investors are moving in, that's when, everybody kind of wants to go. Have you ever noticed that if you see a brand new Home Depot go in somewhere, almost inevitably you'll see a brand new Lowe's go in close by it? Have you ever noticed that? You guys let me know if you've ever seen that in the comments. Let me know if you ever noticed that if a Chipotle goes in one place, then a Chick-fil-A is coming in almost in the same parking lot, and there's going to be a new McDonald's or whatever, a new Starbucks, right? So what I expect to see here in Emmett here within the next couple of years is I expect to see new restaurants and things like that popping up right here, even probably in the same parking lot, the same vicinity, because that's the way that the investment world works, right? You have these funds, you have these hedge funds that they buy, and they buy property, they build land. Yes, Sherry says they appear in Canada. Exactly right. So what what happens when that starts happening is it begins like this snowball effect, right? You start seeing everybody is buying in that area, and all the investors are like, well, if they're buying there, then we know their model. And so that's kind of something that you can take advantage of as an investor, to the point that you can actually begin to notice where the trending areas are. And I'm curious if you guys have noticed, drop your comments, drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you guys noticed any areas close to where you're at where it's beginning to trend? I'm gonna check the comments here. Does anybody notice anything that where it's beginning to actually trend? You're beginning to see, investors come in and purchase property in a particular area. I'm just curious if you guys have seen that. Anybody seen something like that? By the way, let me know if you guys can. Is the image on this broadcast, is it really blurry? Because I have my phone, I have it pulled up here, I'm checking it, and it looks like it's super blurry. So I'm just curious if that's just on my end or if that's how it's showing up on you guys' end too. But I'm looking in the comments. Have you noticed anywhere where there's you're beginning to see this? I'll tell you a location where Peggy Stevens and I just were a couple weeks ago. Actually, just not that long ago. Yeah, maybe a couple weeks ago at the most. Peggy, if you're still on, you probably know where I'm talking about. Somewhere just north of the Oregon border, just into southern Washington, off of I-5. I'd love to hear if Peggy, if you remember where I'm talking about. We were just up there. Peggy and I didn't get to talk about this aspect, but Sherry says, in the past I've noticed that. I haven't seen any current ones near me. So I'll tell you guys where I'm thinking of. Peggy and I were just in Ridgefield, Washington. You guys been to Ridgefield lately? So if you guys have been up near Ridgefield, yeah, Peggy says yes. Yes, absolutely. So Ridgefield is exploding with growth right now, okay? So Peggy and I were just in Ridgefield a couple of weeks ago, and it's an area that's very similar to the area where I'm at here right now, kind of a smaller town. It's been there forever, right? Just like Emmett, Idaho, where I'm at right now. But what you see in Ridgefield is Francisco's got it. He's got it. The first In-N-Out in Washington. Isn't that crazy? You would think, oh, it's Seattle. It's going to be Seattle. It's going to be, Bothell. It's going to be Kirkland. No, the first In-N-Out burger in Washington State is actually in Ridgefield, Washington, just up the road from you guys there in Portland. And if you get off at the Ridgefield exit, if you haven't been there in a while, you are going to be blown away at what's happening in that area. There's a new Costco, there's a Mod Pizza, there's new boutique grocery stores going in there. And all those things are indicators of a much bigger picture. Just dropped my phone here. All those things are indicators of a much bigger picture for us as private, single family or even small multifamily residential homes. Now, if you guys are in commercial, it still applies to you as well. But what I look at is when I see an area beginning to pop up, all those little places pop up like that, that tells me that this is a good area to be looking for housing, especially if you can get into buy and hold housing. Okay. Now, you guys know there's a big difference between buy and holds and flips, right? When I talk about today money versus tomorrow money, which one of those would it be, buy and hold, or would it be flips? Which one is which? You guys can drop your comments, drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear and see if you guys are interacting. It helps me if I know you guys are actually tracking. But buy and hold properties tend to be more of a tomorrow money play, right? Tomorrow money meaning you may not necessarily make a ton of money today, but the longer you hold on to this property, the more it's going to go up in value. And if you see big investment groups who do a ton of research, they do all kinds of research, they spend thousands and thousands of dollars on market reports, on demographics, all these things that they do. And then they actually go and they get with their funds and their hedge fund managers, and they go like, hey, we're going to buy up these properties right there by the exit. We know that the city of Ridgefield is planning on putting in a new exit. And so they go up and they buy up all the properties right around that with the anticipation that they're going to be developing at some point, right? And so as they start doing that development, then what it says to everybody else around there is like, I'm having with residents here in Emmett, Idaho, which is, boy, the town sure is changing. Man, it's not what it used to be. No, it's not. Now it's funny, because they won't complain about the changes when they want to run down and grab a slice of pizza at Mod Pizza. They don't complain whenever kids want to run down to Dutch Bros and get a coffee. They don't complain about getting discount pricing on the grocery outlet there. And by the way, grocery outlet is a very, very successful business model. You guys are familiar with that. But I like what she says here. She says the indicators show intention, and obviously distinguishing buy and hold from flipping strategy when noting development. So when you're looking at development, if you can buy properties in an area like this where it's developing and it's starting to kind of a up and coming, those are great areas. These are great areas. I'm out here today looking at several properties. These are great areas to pick up properties that you can hold on to. And sometimes it's amazing at how much increase in value and appreciation you can get in a very time just by buying properties in areas like this whenever they're first kind of coming onto people's radar. So if you have grocery outlet, if you have Starbucks, if you have Chipotle, if you have Dutch Bros, if you have these types of places that are buying and building brand new in what seems to be a small town, kind of off the, man, this is nowhere, Ridgefield, right? There's nothing on here. Yeah, not today. That's how things get going on. These companies, investment groups, they come in, start buying, they start building. They're looking for a place to park their money. They've done the research to say that this is going to be a good place for growth. It's easy access to interstate. That's what's going on with Emmett. As soon as this highway gets connected all the way to Interstate 84, it's going to completely change the whole dynamic of getting access to this little kind of a sleepy, kind of a bedroom community. And when that happens, whether you like it or not, when that happens, that's just the fact of the matter. It's on like a prawn, the on's done, right? That's when things start happening. That's when investments start really being realized, and it's a really, really good time to buy when you have a opportunity stuff like that. So I'm out here. Monica's saying, "Is the connection bad or just me?" It's probably me, Monica. So I'm out here at the Starbucks. I'm on their free Wi-Fi. And apologies for the background noise and for the spotty connection. It was the best I could do today. I'll probably make this a short one because don't you guys hate watching a video and it's like, it's all scratchy and spotty? It's not that good. I hate that. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I'm out here today. I'm out here in Emmett, Idaho, and I'm looking at some properties. Now I'm looking for bigger acreage properties. I'm looking for anything from 1 acre, 2 acre, and then jumping up into 5 acre, even 8 acre parcels, 10 acre parcels. I did a couple of door knocks this morning. Had a great meeting with some folks in my network that I'm trying to build network connections with, and I'm really excited about the prospects here in Emmett. If I was in Portland still, actually looking for buy and hold properties, I would definitely be eyeballing Ridgefield. You guys remember, what happened down there where the Speedway is just not too long ago. Remember when that Speedway went in and all that outlet mall and everything went in down there on Interstate 5? That was a while back now, but what I'm saying is, like, look at what's happened to South Hillsboro, right? The South Hillsboro development that's all been pushed in. Cornelius Pass. Remember, Cornelius Pass Road got pushed through all the way. Well, it's not done yet, but it got extended past TV Highway, right, south of TV Highway, and that's going to go, by the way, if you don't know this, it's going to go all the way out to Farmington Road, and that is a huge development that was 10 years in the making before they broke ground on it. But now that they broke ground, boy, what is it? Everybody knows that that's the place to be, right? So now what happened to all those properties in that area is they've all gone up in value exponentially. So that's the idea here. So Gary says John's working today. Yep, I'm out here. I am working today. That's right. So I'm out here on location. I've got some properties that I'm looking at. I try to do this sometimes. If I'm going to go out and look at properties, I'll try to look and see what other properties can I go and check out. So I have PropStream has a drive app option on their app. So I'll go put it on the PropStream app and I'll just look up every single pre-foreclosure in the area. I try to kill as many birds with one stone as I can, pardon the expression, but so I had a meeting this morning with some folks that I'm going to be potentially, or at least they're going to be able to give me referrals. That's related to the senior business that you guys know, some of you guys know about. And then after that, I met with one of the local folks I'm working with. Tess and I met together, and then her and I kind of had a visit in the parking lot, talking about different prospects, talking about different lenders that we're both wanting to connect with, private money folks. And then I went and did some door knocks on some properties. I'm going to be doing that again. So I like to try to spend as much as the day as I can out here, just block off the entire day and just have back to back meetings and just try to get as much work done in one shot as I can. Sherry says several older, expansive properties in the way of progress have been demolished or earmarked for such. That's right. So it's another thing. You start seeing properties getting torn down. There's a really good indicator that you're going to have development happening. So why, you're like, well, I'm not into development. I don't, have the money for that. No, you may not yet, right? You could do it someday if that's what you want to do. It's actually easier than you think to get into that, but it just takes longer to wait for making money typically. But you say, well, I'm not into development. I don't do big stuff like that. But if you guys are in the single family home business, whether it's wholesaling, flipping, buy and hold rentals, you guys should be looking at the areas that are in development. Like, what are the areas that are projected to grow? And so one thing you might want to do is you might want to do a little bit of Googling. You might want to do a little bit of research. You might want to find out in your county, in your city, in your region, what are the up and coming communities? Everybody has to live somewhere, right? Well, what these bigger companies will do is they'll do all that research, and then they'll go down, they'll apply for permits, they'll do some due diligence, they'll do exploratory type of stuff. And if the county is dealing with these big investments and these big builders, at some point those conversations are happening. If you have an insider county or want to go down and make friends with somebody at the building and development services place, you just go to say, hey, what are the big investors talking about? What's going on? What's coming to my community, right? And let them tell you, oh, we got a new Walmart going in, we got a new Costco or whatever. And as you start kind of picking up in general the area where that development is going to happen, that's usually a really good place to go and start doing prospecting for your particular type of property. So I love to be able to buy and hold properties in areas like this, especially with the model that I'm working on. I believe it's going to generate a large amount of revenue on a monthly basis, and yet it's going to be an easy, simple build. It's going to fill a big need in the area, and every community needs it. So I'm working on that, but I'd love to hear from you guys. What are you guys working on today? I'm probably going to run about 30 minutes today, and we've got about 8 minutes left. So I want to hear from you guys. If you're working on something today that you'd like to have me answer, feel free to post it in the comments. I will pull it up, and I'll try to answer your question live. But is this helpful? Does this make sense? Like, do you guys have any questions about what I've been talking about? Like, why Emmett? It's funny because years ago, Emmett, whenever my wife and I were first married out in this way, Emmett was considered kind of a backwards town. That's where, the poor hillbillies live. And there might have been some truth to that. But the fact of the matter is that everybody in the area, it's the best kept secret that's not really as much of a secret anymore, is that Emmett is set to explode in growth. And so we're looking at Emmett for properties. I've made a couple of offers on some things. We've written several LOIs, letter of intent, and we're looking for on market, off market. So by the way, if some of you are bird dogging, you're prospecting, if you find us a deal in the Emmett, Idaho area, I'd be happy to talk to you. I might be your buyer, so feel free to that. I wanted to also let you guys know that I've repackaged my Hollywood house deal. I've repackaged it, and I've just dropped that out to a couple. I've got a link that I've dropped out to a couple of people who I know have access to buyers. So if you guys have access to a buyer's list, or you know somebody that's interested in buying creative deals, I do have a new link, a new pitch deck, kind of a one-pager. I put it all together. If you guys are interested in getting that, please let me know. Drop a yes in the comments, or say pitch deck in the comments, and I'll get that out to you guys so you can have a copy of what it is I'm working on. But just working today out on site. Sorry for the bad connection. Sorry for the background noise. It's a bit noisy here, I admit, and it's not ideal, but I'm out. We got to work, right? But I don't want to miss Tuesday Talks with you guys. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy getting to spend time with you. I really enjoy it when I see you guys have questions and comments, and I know that you're actually hearing what I'm saying and you're wanting to participate. So I'm looking at the comments again. I don't see a lot. Monica says, "Yeah, thanks for the connection. I was wondering. I appreciate your talks. Thank you, Monica. I appreciate you and being here." All right, who else? Carla McWilliams says yes. I'm not sure if I was yes to something I was saying or just yes to one of the other comments, but yeah, okay. Hey, okay. By the way, Francisco, have you been up to the In-N-Out Burger yet? I'm sure you probably have. Okay. Monica says, I appreciate you no matter what, even with the bad connection or noise. Oh, that's nice of you. Monica, appreciate you. Okay, guys, like I said, I don't want to belabor this too much today with the bad connection, bad location, but that's what I'm out doing. By the way, if you have any interest, like I said, in the pitch deck, please just comment pitch deck. And Francisco says, of course, I've been up there. He's been up there a couple times. Got a burger, got himself a shake, sat outside and watched the car. I don't know about you guys with Richfield yet, but here in the Treasure Valley, they have one over at the big outdoor mall here in Meridian, and there's an In-N-Out Burger, and that's where it seems like every teenager in the entire valley goes and hangs out there at night. So it's kind of fun. I go over there and reminisce, and I pull in and I see all these teens hanging out, and they're doing all the stuff that teenagers do. So I'm in Emmett, not in Everett, although there might be an Emmett, Washington. I'm in. I think you might be thinking of Everett, Washington, although I did used to live up there. I am in Emmett, Idaho, Emmett, Idaho today. And we're looking for properties, looking for particularly for vacant or bare land, residential zoning, and something that can hopefully an acre, anything from 1 acre to 10 acres is what I'm looking for. And I have 2 different uses that we're looking at. And one is actually working with USDA loan product that they have, and working with a partner of ours. That's going to be for the bigger acreages. And then for our smaller 1 acre floor plan, we have some really cool stuff that we're building that we want to build here. And like I said, then if it's Valley, we're going to take it over to the Interstate 5 corridor from Medford all the way up to the Canadian border. So yeah, Sherry says you've been everywhere, man. I have been everywhere. I started out here in Idaho. Well, I pretty much raised in Oregon, Willamette Valley. Met my wife over here at church camp when I was a teenager. So we ended up getting married over here. Then ended up in Fairbanks, Alaska, built multiple houses up in Fairbanks. It's one time we were the second largest home builder in Fairbanks, Alaska. My dad and I ran it was his company. I was one of his foremen, and we ended up doing housing for the Army Corps of Engineers, junior NCO, non-commissioned. Big construction projects, panel building, prefab, stick built. I built houses everywhere. Then I went to Florida, built houses on the coast down there on the Gulf of Mexico. I'm sorry, the Gulf down there. Can't even remember what Gulf it is. So I'm having a brain snafu there. But built custom houses, built the pole barn houses and pole houses rather, the ones that are built up on stilts right down there on the beach, so that when the big surge waters come in, it doesn't actually ruin everything. It just kind of washes underneath the piers. Done that kind of construction. Then ended up, like I said, back up in the Everett, Bothell, Linwood area. Built several spec homes up there before getting down into the Hillsboro area. So Hillsboro is kind of where we were for the last 14 years, probably the longest stay we had in our marriage of 25 years. And then back over here in Idaho, where it all started. So Monica says, would you be interested in a condo in the Portland area? Monica, is this the one you were talking about in the PDXREI group? I think I saw you make a comment about a friend who's thinking about selling. You're wondering if a sub 2 would work. I would be interested in looking at it with you to let you know if it's a deal or not. So if you want to send me over an address and a little bit of detail, I'd be happy to answer any questions I can for you. Peggy says, I'm sleeping until 5. She's got to go back to work tonight. She's been working with the seller all morning. Peggy, just let me know when you're ready to have me come into the picture? Monica says, yes, it's the same one. Monica, if I remember correctly, your friend is wanting to sell or maybe needing to sell. I don't know the exact situation, so you'll have to send me over some details, and I'd be happy to look at that with you. But yeah, I'm interested in condos. It just has to make sense, right? Numbers have to make sense. I've got a townhouse that I'm looking at making an offer on. I've been working with the sellers for about 2 months now, trying to figure out what's going on with their loan, and that's in the St. George, Utah area, and looking to buy that one as a hold. Really almost a brand new place. Owners got behind on the mortgage, and so we're trying to help them out, find out what their options are. I have to make an offer on that probably today or tomorrow. But the point is, that's a townhome. It's got HOAs, it's got dues. Sometimes those are a little bit, shied away from investors. But for me, it just has to make sense, right? The thing about townhomes and condos that people really, really don't like is that you can have the HOA basically call in like, hey, we're putting in a new roof and everybody's got to pay an extra $15,000 this year. And if you don't pay it, we're going to get a lien against your property. Well, that can be very, very much a surprise, an unexpected, unwelcome surprise for people that are not used to or they're not aware of the fact that those things do happen. So they're called special assessments, and they get slapped onto your title. And it found out that the flashing on the decks was done wrong. It's been 15 years, but now it's usually not that long because there's a certain timeline that the contractor has to stay on the hook for. But the point is, we got to rip off all the decks and put in new flashing and then put it all back together, and it's going to be a $600,000 job. So every condo in the entire association is going to get slapped with a $30,000 special assessment. That stuff happens all the time with condos, and so that's one of the reasons why people really tend to shy away from condos. Plus the HOA fees, and it's one thing here in Idaho. I've noticed this, and I'll wrap up with this. But yes, Sherry says special assessments, no bueno. That's very, very true, Sherry. Here's the thing, in Idaho, you have HOAs, right? Almost every subdivision has an HOA, and in Idaho, the HOAs, that you tend to actually get something for what you pay for. So you have a weekly landscape crew that comes in and keeps everything nice and tight, and there's landscape. They change out the flowers, they change out trees and plants, and there's sidewalks that are meandering through everywhere. There's parks. In most of the subdivisions here in Idaho that have an HOA, you have a public pool that you have access to for the community. And I noticed in Oregon that your HOA doesn't pay for hardly anything. In fact, very, very few neighborhood subdivisions, condo associations that I've seen in Oregon where your HOA gets you anything. Like maybe a playground, maybe some landscaping stuff, but it's crazy what people pay for those in Oregon as opposed to what they pay here. And here you get something, but you pay 125, $50 a month. I've seen a couple of them that have been as high as, $300 a month. But in Oregon, I've seen HOA fees of $700 a month. And I'm like, for what? You don't get a pool. You might get access to an exercise room. It's like a little tiny square room with glass windows, and, it's just concrete floor, and you got, 3 treadmills and, a stair climber. It's just the whole entire thing just seems like really scammy to me with HOAs in Oregon. So, Ted says here, he says, we had a repiping special assessment on the condo I used to own as part of a class action on national lawsuit. Yeah, Sherry's saying the same thing. My townhome HOA has amenities like you described. They're getting more frugal lately. So dues are crazy though. Yeah. So there's the thing is if you have something, then it's like at least you feel like you get something for what you're paying for, right? Boy, I just can't get excited. So to answer your question, Monica, condos in the Portland area, absolutely, but it has to make sense. Portland a couple weeks ago, I was doing a bunch of door knocking down on some condos on the waterfront. There's a ton of condos. I say a ton. There's probably at least half a dozen, which is a ton to me, at least in one little area. All the waterfront, you know, right down there in the downtown Portland, that waterfront property, there's all these new condos, apartments, and stuff like that. Well, those condos and townhomes, there's a bunch of those that are in pre-foreclosure, right? Because a lot of these people bought at the peak of the market. They bought a condo because that was the only thing they could afford in that price range, and you know, and then things happen. People are out; they can't sell now, and so there's a lot of upside down condos down those areas. I was down there walking through. There's some really nice places downtown Portland on the waterfront. They're brand new. They've got cool stuff. It's kind of a gated space. Now, right outside your gate, you might have a homeless park or an encampment. But, you know, I can see why somebody who might like that lifestyle living might buy a condo. You know, it's worth it to some people, I guess is what I'm saying. But the problem with the condos is your buyer's pool is a lot smaller. Financing can be a little bit trickier. You've got these special assessments that can pop up out of nowhere. You can end up getting in lawsuits. You know, your HOA fees never seem to go down, but they're always creeping up. It's just like the whole thing just kind of like, most investors aren't really into it because the numbers just are unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen with the numbers. So hopefully that answers your question. Peggy says getting her hair done or more this morning. The seller. Great. Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and bounce out of here. And unless I see something else here, I don't see anything else in the comments. I want to make sure, scan through it one more time, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, I know it's kind of a short one today and didn't really get into anything too, you know, hopefully it was at least informative, if not entertaining, you know, or entertaining if not informative, the other way around. But guys, I have some really, really cool stuff planned for upcoming Tuesday talks, just getting stuff lined up. Been super busy lately. Plus, you know, summer is getting away from us. It's fall. It's here now. We know what that means. Winter's coming. It's going to be rain, snow, you know, kind of those cold, dark, dreary information. Information. I saw Monica's thing. Information. Monica, what I need from you is I need an address. I need to know the seller's situation. It's the same as any deal, okay? Got to know what the seller's motivation is. Why does this person want to sell? What's their actual motivation? What's their timeline? What's the situation that's got them thinking about selling? So kind of some basic information on that. I need to know the kind of the price point that she's thinking that she needs to have. Does she have any prices in mind? And then obviously with you know, the address. But if we're going to be doing something possibly creative, which is probably the only interest that I would have, I kind of need to know what the current balance is on her mortgage and what kind of monthly payments she's bringing to the table to make to afford to live here. So how much is her mortgage payment? How much are her HOA dues every month? And then also what's her interest rate on her current mortgage? So basic stuff like that. You can text that over to me. Okay. Appreciate that. Nice feedback. Always bringing content work, guys. I appreciate you. You make it possible for us to do this. So go out and do the right thing, as Dr. Laura says, and go out and find some leads. If you're not making offers, if you're not bird dogging, at least finding leads, then it's really hard for you to make money in real estate. So I find an address. Exactly. So pull this up here for something that I'm always looking for. What's the address? What's the seller situation? What's the timeline? What's the price point? I know she has no mortgage. She doesn't want to deal with renters, wants to avoid capital gains. Okay, sounds like an owner carry, not a sub two. But yeah, we can work with that. So Monica, send that over to me and Messenger, and I'll be looking for that message. Run, got to get to another house. I got some more door knocks to do before I head home for the day. God bless you guys. Talk to you soon. If you have any questions, reach out to me anytime, and we'll see you on the next Tuesday Talks. Take care.